Some of the most expensive LEGO sets ever were in the LEGO Star Wars theme, and there have been 23 LEGO Star Wars sets that have cost more than $200 in MSRP. Sets like the Millennium Falcon and the AT-AT, which cost $850, but many other UCS sets as well that cost hundreds of dollars. And over time, we've seen some of these be great investments because values have gone up after retirement of these sets. This year, we have 4 different sets that are retiring that cost more than $200 in the LEGO Star Wars theme. So many of us are wondering, will some of these sets go up in value over time? Will some of them be a really good LEGO investment? And if so, which of these 4 LEGO Star Wars sets will be the best one to invest in this year? And in reality, there are actually 9 expensive LEGO Star Wars sets still on the shelves today. If we count expensive as being anything over $200, there are 9 available on shelves today, but 5 of them are not retiring this year. Those 5 are, of course, the $850 UCS Millennium Falcon, set number 75192. We also have the Venator class Republic Attack Cruiser, $650 set right here. We have the Razor Crest, the $600 UCS Razor Crest, set number 75331. We have the TIE Interceptor, one of the newest UCS sets that we've seen. This is 75382. And then, of course, we also have the UCS X-Wing, which is set number 75355. None of these 5 expensive LEGO Star Wars sets are retiring this year in 2024, but we do have 4 others that are currently available in stores that are scheduled to retire this year. These retirement dates could change, of course, over the next couple of months, but as of right now, we are scheduled to say goodbye to these 4 expensive LEGO Star Wars sets. So we're going to talk about those 4 sets. We're going to look at those sets. We're going to look at the price history, some similar sets in the past that have done really well as investments, and talk about which of these 4 that I would pick as my number 1 as an investment this year. So let's jump in and talk about these. And first up, of course, it's Mos Eisley Cantina. Now, this is one that is very popular amongst LEGO fans and LEGO investors right now. It is set number 75290 with a $400 MSRP. Now, this set has 21 minifigures in the box. 9 of them are unique. 3,187 pieces here. It was released in October 2020 and retiring in December of 2024. So by the time this retires, it will have been on the shelves for more than 4 years, which is quite a long shelf life for such a large, expensive LEGO Star Wars set. But we have seen other large, expensive Star Wars sets stick around for many years as well, such as the $850 Millennium Falcon. This set, again, is a $400 MSRP. The price per piece is $12.6 in the US right here. So the value is not incredible. There are sets that have a much better price per piece than that, of course, but you do get so many minifigures, and minifigures are worth more than every other part in the box. So with 21 minifigs, I do expect the price per piece to be a little bit higher. And if we look at some of these minifigures, what are we talking about here? When we scroll down super quickly, we've got a lot going on inside of this box. With C-3PO, we've got the musician, we've got Chewbacca, we've got Dr. Camelius, we've got Greedo, of course, we've got Han, and that is, of course, one of the most important things you're going to be looking for inside of the Mos Eisley Cantina. 9 unique minifigures. So we got a lot going on in this set. Now, is it something that we should be paying a lot more attention to as an investment? Let's look at the price history so far. So on Amazon, we can see that right now it is selling for $440. It is inflated a little bit because Amazon themselves do not have stock of it. So right now, it's third-party sellers that are selling it at a slightly inflated price. We can see that Amazon did used to stock the set. They had it in stock right up until the end of 2023. Since then, they've been out of stock. They have popped back in stock a couple of times, but they've been largely out of stock. We see a pretty strong sales volume over the course of the life of this set, particularly in the first couple of years. We do see the sales rank on Amazon being less than 10,000. Over time, it has risen. That essentially means that a lot of fans who were super excited about it had already bought it, and sales started to slow down. We expect that to happen. It happens on all LEGO sets. We expect that as they remain on the shelves for multiple years, we see the sales rank is a little bit lower in the final years of the set's existence, and that's what we're seeing here. So even last year, for example, Amazon were still in stock, but the sales rank was more like between 30 and 60,000. Recently, it has been higher again because Amazon are not in stock and the price is slightly inflated. We see sales ranks more like 100K or even higher, which means sales volume has slowed down on the set over time. Is it concerning? In my opinion, as an investment, it is absolutely not. I still think the sales volume is more than high enough on this one to continue in retirement, and I think the supply, because it's a $400 set, is not going to be dramatic. Typically with really expensive sets, we see lower supply, we see less Lego investors are confident enough to get into that set, and we see fewer of them available in aftermarket. So I don't expect that the demand is going to be too low in the aftermarket for this to rise in price. So Mos Eisley Cantina, it is a really interesting set. It's got a lot going on for it. Have we seen similar sets in the past that we can look to learn if they were good investments or not? There's been a couple. It's quite unique, but it does remind me of a couple of sets. It's an expensive Star Wars set that is highly playable. So we have kind of some Star Wars sets that are very playable and others that are more displayable. A lot of the UCS sets, like the ships, they're the ones that you put on a shelf and you wouldn't really think of them as highly playable. Other sets such as the Death Star, such as Ewok Village that we've seen in the past, remind me more of this kind of set, which is minifigure heavy and is highly playable. And does this mean that this set will not perform as well as some of the more kind of adult focused, displayable shelf kind of UCS sets? I don't think so, because we have seen very strong performance on some sets that have been kind of similar to this, such as the most recent Death Star. We have seen in the past the older Death Stars not done as well. This was a $400 Death Star that was released back in 2008. This is 10188. Currently available for in the region of $800 on eBay. We can see a sale here for $900. We can see one that was used for $450, so I would discount that one and actually we could filter for new condition only. And you can see $800, $900 sales for that Death Star. This was a $400 MSRP, which would be a good investment if it didn't take so long to be selling at these prices. Again, this set was a 2008 set. So the fact that this is still selling in the $800 region, I would not consider this to be the best investment. But we have seen better performance. We will look at the newer Death Star in a while. That was a really, really strong Lego investment. But another set that I think is actually quite similar to Mos Eisley Cantina in how the set is structured and what the focus of the set is would be the Empire Strikes Back Betrayal at Cloud City. This is the Cloud City set, 75222, retired back in 2019. This was a $350 MSRP. And if we look at the Keepa chart here, which shows us the Amazon price history, we can see that right now it is selling for somewhere in the region of $1,000. So recently, we don't actually have any sales on Amazon, on the Amazon listing, but this has been selling for years. And last year, we do see sales in the $1,200 mark. On eBay, we see recent sales at $1,000. So this was a $350 set that retired in 2019 and is now selling for somewhere in the region of $1,000 to $1,200. A phenomenal investment. We can see the history. So over the course of the retirement, the first year of retirement, we can see that this quickly got to $700 right here. So the fact that this is a $350 set got to $720 within about 6 months of retirement, that shows us the potential that we could see happen with Mos Eisley Cantina. Now at that point, you're still kind of not doubling your money just yet because you got to pay your Amazon fees. And then we do see that Cloud City was kind of flat over the following year. It really skyrocketed in the third year of retirement. We can actually see that the supply really started to dwindle and the set hit $1,000 for the first time here in year 3 of retirement. So sometimes these larger sets can do quite well in the first year, and then we can have kind of a lull for a couple of years, and then finally we can see another little bit of pop and another bit of stretching their legs. And that's what we're seeing here with Cloud City. But again, it took multiple years to really hit that $1,000 mark. And if you were patient, this would have been a phenomenal investment at that point. Another set that is kind of similar to Mos Eisley Cantina, in my opinion, is the Ewok Village. Again, there are a lot of differences with these sets, of course. There is no perfect comparison to Mos Eisley, but we're talking about highly playable, expensive Lego Star Wars sets with minifigure focus, kind of depicting a scene from the movie as opposed to a vehicle or a ship or anything like that. And that's what Ewok Village is as well. It is set number 10236. This was a $250 MSRP and retired back in 2016, so we're going back a while here with this one. We can actually see that it took some time to grow in value to really what it became, but we do see that it was selling in 2017 for $430 or so, and again, this was a $250 MSRP. So even in the first year of retirement, this was a reasonable performance. You were getting somewhere in the region of a 50% return after fees. It took a couple of years to really skyrocket. Again, we're seeing what we saw on the previous set here, again with a kind of a flat performance over the course of year 2 and 3. And year 4 of retirement, we see this one hitting 600. So it really started to grow a lot there when the supply really started to dwindle. And then over the course of the next couple of years, it reached 830 or so. So again, we can see some of these expensive sets have that early pop and then a little bit of a slowdown, and then a kind of a couple of years later, stretch their legs again. So Ewok Village, it just took a little while to get there, but it was still a reasonably good performance in the first year, similar to what we saw with Cloud City, and could hint at what we might expect with Mos Eisley. But again, this is going back some time. We got to remember that the Amazon marketplace is different now than it was back then, and we got to keep that in mind. Another one that could be considered to be similar is Assault on Hoth. There are a lot of differences here, of course, but this was another slightly expensive Star Wars set. This was a $250 purchase price, so it is significantly cheaper than Mos Eisley, but this was back in 2016 the set was released. So sets back then were cheaper anyway, right? This is a $250 purchase price at the time. The set retired back in 2017, and it was a $250 MSRP. If we look at the Keep It chart here, we can see the price, and if I take out the green here and just focus on this price line, we can see that it was around 330 in 2017, and it was pretty flat for a long time. We can see that it did reach 450. In fact, in the second year of retirement, it did hit about 420. Again, it was a $250 purchase price. If you got a good deal on it, then you're doing okay at an investment at that point, but it did take a couple more years to really kind of stretch its legs. 600 during the year 2020. And then in the last couple of years, we've seen it hit $800 a couple times. So it was a phenomenal investment in the long run. Again, that's what we're seeing on Assault on Hoth. And now you might be wondering, Shane, some of these sets are quite different pricing, right? So should we really be looking at $250 Assault on Hoth or $250 Ewok Village when we're talking about a $400 Mos Eisley Cantina? Absolutely agree that the price difference does matter when we're looking at similar sets in the past to try and understand what might be possible for this set. We should be trying to find sets that are similarly priced. That is why I mentioned Death Star. This is the more recent Death Star, 75159, and another set that has some similarities to Mos Eisley Cantina in my opinion, just in the way that the set is depicted. It is depicting a location, of course, but it is very, very minifig focused. It is very kind of playability focused, and this was a $500 MSRP, so a little bit more than Mos Eisley, but it's still kind of close enough that we can look at this and understand the performance of this set. This set retired at the end of 2020, and right away we can see the price taking off here. If we look at the last couple of years on this set, 2020 retirement, and over the course of the first year of retirement, this set hit $1,400. So it was a $500 MSRP. By midway through the first year, you were doubling your money, because even after you cover your fees and everything, at this point, you're more than doubling your money with a $1,400 selling price for a $500 set, even if you bought it at full MSRP. Over the course of the next year, it kind of dipped a little bit. It didn't really do much more, but it did peak again a year later at $1,600. And since then, it has been somewhere in that region. We can see it even got up to $1,700, briefly hitting $1,800 here in the last couple of months on Amazon. So that Death Star at this point is selling for over triple the MSRP after a couple of years of retirement. Again, it was an end of 2020 retirement. So this could arguably be a pretty good comparison to what could happen with Mos Eisley. They are very different sets, of course, but they are similar price points and similar focuses in terms of being highly minifigure driven, expensive Star Wars sets. And so that is Death Star. Now, it is possible that we have worse performance, of course, because we've seen other examples of a $400 MSRP Star Wars set that has not been the most incredible investment so far, and that is the most recent Republic gunship. This is 75309. This was a $400 purchase price, and it retired at the end of 2023. Around a half a year later, this is selling for $560. So at this point, after you cover your fees, you're not really making much on Republic gunship. This is an example of a set that is a similar price. There are many differences in this set. This is a more displayable, put on your shelf type set, of course, but the price point is the same, right? It's a $400 MSRP. We can see cases where they don't skyrocket, similar to what happened with Death Star. So you got to keep that in mind as well. And this is another example of a $400 Star Wars set that has been a little bit slower to grow in value. So Mos Eisley Cantina, there are some examples that we've seen in the past that have been really good investments. There are others that have been a little slower to grow. And so what's going to happen with this set, it remains to be seen, of course, but if you can get it at a great price, it very well could be a solid investment. But it's important to keep some of these things in mind. Now, the next expensive Star Wars set that is retiring in 2024 is, of course, the AT-AT. This is an $850 set. Now, this is the first of its price point to retire. We've never seen any set at this price point retire before. The $850 Millennium Falcon has been on the shelf for years. It has not yet retired. We've seen the Coliseum in the past retire. We've seen some expensive sets retire, but nothing at an $850 price point. So this is going to be interesting to watch. It is set number 75313 with 9 minifigures, of course, released in November of 21. And retiring at the end of 2024. So just over 3 years on the shelves by the time this disappears. 9 minifigures, 3 of them are unique, of course, but there are some kind of repetitivity in the minifigures. If you look at the image here, you can see what's included in the box. This is a $850 MSRP, which gives it a 12.5 cents price per piece. Pretty much the same as Mos Eisley. Because of those minifigures bringing up the price, of course, there are also kind of some larger pieces in this box. And the set on Amazon has been largely in stock throughout its life. It has not really been heavily discounted at any point. It was $800 for a while, and actually I think this is one of the sets that had a price increase back then in 2022, and Amazon raised the price to $850. Since then, it has been selling at around $850 until very recently, where it's sold out. We have seen during the time when Amazon has sold out, the price has risen to around $1,100. So again, $850 MSRP, Amazon goes out of stock, and then all of a sudden the price jumps to $1,100. So a little bit of a price jump while Amazon is out of stock always makes me feel good about the prospects for investing. It makes me realize there are no lowball sellers on the listing, and there is an appetite for sales even at those higher prices, if we do see sales, of course. And we do still see sales on the Keepa chart here. So even at those higher prices, I imagine the appetite is still there, right? Fans who are willing to pay $850 are still okay with paying $1,100 if the set begins to get harder to find. So no significant opportunities to get great deals on this set, and Amazon are in stock a lot of the time, so there hasn't really been supply shortages or anything like that we would note if we saw that here on Keepa. They have been out of stock recently, but we'll see how that plays out throughout the rest of 2024. Now, the closest retired set to this purchase price, $850, is of course the Star Wars Imperial Star Destroyer set. This is set number 75252. It was a $700 set. And again, it's not quite $850, but it's close enough. And this set retired at the end of 2022. So what happened with this particular set? We can see that it was selling on Amazon right here at around $790. Amazon themselves did not have stock of it, but after it retired, we can see the price quickly rose to $1,250. Again, a $700 price, and within just a couple of months, it was selling for $500 more on Amazon for $1,250. So at that point, you're already profitable. You're already making a couple $100. You will have high fees, of course, if you're selling such an expensive item on Amazon, but you're making a couple $100 at that point. If you waited longer, it did hit around $1,400 at the end of the first year of its retirement here in 2023, and more recently in 2024, we've seen it selling for $1,600. Right now on Amazon, the buy box on this set is $1,540. So again, it's a $700 set right now, a year and a half after retirement. It is selling for over double of its original MSRP, and we do see sales on it. I can see the sales rank is moving here. We do have sales on Amazon at this $1,500 purchase price. That's an example of a $700 set that has more than doubled from the MSRP. You're not quite doubling your money on it because you do have your fees and things to pay, but you're still doing well as an investment. And the dollar amount that you're making for every sale at this point is pretty substantial. That's really what you're going to be looking for if you choose to invest in the $850 AT-AT. You're not going to reach 100% return within a year like you might be able to do on a brickhead set, on a $10 set. Because the return on investment on these more expensive sets will be lower, but the dollar profit that you make on every sale, of course, will be a whole lot higher. You're never going to sell a brickhead set and make $500 or $600 profit right there, which is what you can do on these more expensive sets. So that's what we're seeing on Star Destroyer right here, is the ability to sell for hundreds of dollars of profit in every sale. And we've also seen some other quite expensive Lego Star Wars sets, such as the $500 Millennium Falcon that retired. This retired back in 2009, so it's been quite a while since this one retired. It took some time, of course, to hit the prices that we're seeing today, but it is selling for on eBay today, so somewhere in the region of $850. We do see some sales that are much lower than that, but that was an auction, of course. If you're selling an expensive Lego set, don't auction it. You'll get a higher price by selling it in buy it now on eBay. We can see some sales for $1,400, but we can also see some for $2,300. So the price can vary dramatically. We see one here for $2,500. Somewhere in the region of $2,000 is a reasonable price to put on this Millennium Falcon. This is set number 10179 that retired back in 2019 or in 2009. So it was a $500 MSRP, and you can see sales here for $2,000 now, but it has been a long time, and I don't recommend people waiting 15 years to sell your Lego inventory. So this is not a great kind of comp to use when we're thinking about what might happen with an $850 AT-AT. But if you're just wondering, can my $500 Lego Star Wars set go up in value? Here's another example of that, right? We're seeing Millennium Falcon do really well over time if you have the patience to wait. And that's what we're seeing on this set. So the price point of $850 does not really concern me a lot. I do think that Lego Star Wars fans who really want to pick this up will buy it at higher prices, at $1,500, $1,600, $1,700. I think that it's possible. We've seen it in other sets. Does this particular set warrant those price points? That is the question that you have to ask yourself if you're considering investing in this, because this set, the AT-AT, is not the same as the Imperial Star Destroyer. There are very big differences between these sets, and I personally much prefer the Star Destroyer. I would never want to pay that $1,500 purchase price that people are right now paying for the Star Destroyer for the AT-AT. That is just my opinion, of course. I think the set is very bland looking. It is all a single color, which is by design because that's what its set looks like. It very, very accurately depicts the AT-AT. Just in my opinion, I don't particularly love it enough to want to pay $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, which would be the price that you need to see if you want a great investment out of this set. So the price point doesn't massively concern me, but the fact that I don't love this set as much as some other expensive Star Wars sets is the reason why I personally would not be investing in this. But that is, of course, everyone's choice, and a set is selling, right? We do see sales, we do see an appetite for it, and I expect supply in the afterlife to be very, very low on this set. That is going to definitely be the case for this. In my opinion, it is $850 set. I don't think many Lego investors are getting involved with it. As a result, we're going to have very low supply, and we will still have some demand. So I'm excited to watch what happens with this set. It's the first $850 set that I've ever seen retire. So I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. Now, the next Star Wars set that we're going to talk about real quick, over $200, is Luke's Landspeeder. This is the other UCS set that is retiring this year. It is set number 75341, $240 rather MSRP, with 2 minifigures in the box, released in May of 2022 and retiring in December of 2024. So 2.5 years on the shelves by the time this one goes. 1,890 pieces, 2 minifigures, and one of them being unique. 12.7 cents price per piece, so a little bit higher than the last 2 sets that we've looked at here. What has been going on with the price on Amazon? We do see it has been largely in stock throughout its life here at the $240 purchase price. They have discounted it at certain points. We see that they dropped the price here. If we zoom in right here, we can see Amazon dropping their price down to around 200 or just below 200 at certain points in Q4 of 2024. So we do see sales, which sometimes we can see these expensive Lego Star Wars sets never getting discounts. That is what we saw in the last 2 on Amazon, but we do see discounts on Luke's Landspeeder on Amazon. We also see that they've been out of stock quite a lot. So this year, particularly, Amazon have struggled to keep it in stock. You can see that by the orange color. When there's orange here, it means Amazon were in stock. Whenever it's white, it means they were out of stock. We can see that they were in and out of stock a lot this year. During that time, the price did not jump a whole lot. Whenever Amazon goes out of stock, I love to see the price kind of jumping a little bit, and that's not really happening here. The price is kind of staying flat around that $240 purchase price. We do see a little jump right here to $270, which is not even that great in my opinion. I would rather see this price jumping above 300 whenever Amazon's going out of stock. That's not happening here. So these are some down points when I see Amazon having discounts on this set, when I see Amazon going out of stock and the price not jumping. These are things that I keep in mind when I'm thinking about investing. Now, sales rank has been reasonable. We see the sales rank more recently somewhere in the region of 50,000, while Amazon were in stock. It was somewhere in the region of 30 to 50,000. I think supply is going to be quite low on it. The number of offers here is quite low. I think supply is going to be pretty reasonable on it. I would have expected sales rank to be a little bit better on an important UCS set. The design of this set, I don't love. I just think that, there's, again, it's kind of very, it's just got a couple of colors. There's something about this set that I just don't love the design, even though, again, it does depict the Landspeeder nicely. I don't think it's going to look as good on a shelf as some other similar UCS or similarly priced UCS sets that we could get instead, such as the X-Wing. That is just my opinion, of course, and aesthetics is always opinion-based. That is my opinion on this set. And I do think maybe that is a cause for the sales rank not being as high as it could be. What other similar sets could we look at to learn about potential performance of this? Now, again, this is open to interpretation and this is each person's opinion, but my opinion is that maybe the Snowspeeder 75144 is reasonably similar to the Landspeeder. Of course, there's big differences, but we're just trying to find some similar sets that we could look to that are expensive Star Wars sets. This was $190 before retirement back in 2019, and we can see really solid performance on this. It grew in the first year to $320. In the second year, it peaked at $490 right there. So $490 on Snowspeeder. Again, this is not Landspeeder. It is a different set. And it looks very different, of course. But I just argue that similar fans are going to be looking for these sets, okay? So this is a pretty solid performance in the second year. And then it peaked again in year 3 at $600. Now, it has not moved much since then. In year 4, it did get to $750, but it has come down since. So right now, it's at $590. Again, at $190, you could have bought it on Amazon when it was still around, and now it's selling for $590. So this is a pretty good investment. That's what we're seeing from Snowspeeder 75144, a pretty good investment. And then we could also look at the A-Wing Starfighter. Again, quite a different thing than Luke's Landspeeder, but I would argue that aesthetically they're not that different, and it was a similar price point. This was a $200 MSRP. We do see on Amazon right now it's selling for $420. So there may be some listing problems here because I don't think we see the sales rank fully tracking on this. There might be another listing actually, but we do see sales on this one at $420, which is the actual market price right now on Amazon if it's selling at that price. This was a $200 set and it retired at the end of 2021. So it's around 2.5 years now of retirement and it is selling for more than double the MSRP. So it's a reasonable investment if you sell it today because you have to wait 2.5 years and you're not quite doubling your money. But if you sold it right away after retirement, it was the same price. So this has been quite flat for the last couple of years and it did reach that $420 price in the first year of retirement. So if you bought it for $200 right before retirement, sold it for $420 a couple of months later, that point is pretty good, right? You're doing pretty well. So it's not that far off the $240 purchase price for Luke's Landspeeder right now. We could see something similar happen. So Luke's Landspeeder, again, we don't have perfect comparisons to look to figure out if they've been great investments or not. But A-Wing and Snowspeeder were reasonable investments. None of them were absolute groundbreaking investments, but they did okay. And we could see something similar for Luke's Landspeeder. I would argue that it doesn't quite look as well as some of those other sets. In my opinion, of course. Now, the final of the 4 Star Wars sets that are retiring this year that are more than $200 in MSRP is, of course, R2D2. This is the $240 R2D2 set, 75308. This set was released in 2021 and in May and retiring at the end of 2024. So 3.5 years on the shelves for this one. It's really hard to believe it's been 3.5 years since this set came out. 2,314 pieces with one minifigure, $240 purchase price, which gives it a pretty low price per piece of 10.4. So the value in the box here is pretty good. Now, if we look at the price history on Amazon on this set, we can see right now it's selling for around $223, so it's slightly discounted from the MSRP. Right now, we can see pretty solid in-stock rates here. We can see that it did go out of stock briefly back in last Q4, and it hit almost $300. So we do see a pretty good jump in that price whenever Amazon are out of stock. If we zoom out to the full picture, we can actually see that there were large periods of time during the shelf life of this set where Amazon were not in stock, and the set was selling for somewhere in the region of $250 during that time. The sales rank was very, very strong as well. So there's a lot of demand for this set, for sure. Now, there are a couple of things we got to keep in mind here. There is another R2D2 that has already retired that we can look at the price and understand how good of an investment that was. But real quick, before we do that, we got to remember that there has been another R2D2 released since, and this one is currently available in stores and will continue to be available next year. It is not retiring this year. This is a $100 version, set number 75379. So we got to keep this in mind if you're considering investing in 75308, because again, this is a $100 version, so it's half the price. And if you want to invest in this R2D2 and you expect it to hit 400, 500, you need to be aware that some fans will buy the $100 version instead of paying $400 or $500 for the retired version. You could argue that the designs are not that far off. Of course, the $240 version is better and looks better, is better designed and has more pieces. This one has 1,050, the $100 set, and the more expensive set has 2,314. So it's more than double the parts for sure. And some fans will want that, and they will look for that, and they will go to get this one even when the price goes up. But other fans and some of the demand will be happy to settle for the $100 version because they just want an R2D2 on their shelves, and they'll be happy enough with the $100 version. So you got to keep that in mind. Some of the demand will go to this and has gone to this. Now, in terms of past performance, we also need to have a quick look at the old R2D2. This is 10225 that retired back in 2014. Released in May 2012. This was $180 MSRP, very, very similar to the one that is retiring this year. There are minor differences, but there are a lot of comparisons to this set. This had 2,127 pieces, so it's close in piece count. And when we look at the performance of this set, we can see back here in 2014, it was still available for $180 on Amazon. In the first year of retirement, it hit $430. So this skyrocketed right away. Now, it was pretty flat over the next couple of years, but we do see the buy box hitting almost 500 a couple of years later. And then the peak for this was around $600, which is incredible, but it took many years to get there. And that was before the release of the one that's retiring this year, because as soon as that set got released in 2021, the price has been declining ever since on this one. So 10225 was really hitting its stride right before the re-release, and then we see decline in price ever since, and now it's available for $230. You can get the old one that retired back in 2014 for $230 right now, which is lower than the MSRP of the newer one that is retiring this year. Now, that is a recent drop in price. More recently, it was available for $285, but right now you can buy it for $230. So that's interesting, right? And that's what happens with re-releases that are very, very similar. But most investors would have sold this years ago and did pretty well with the $230 purchase price, sold it for $450 or somewhere in that region, $430, and you're doing well at that point. So that is what we could see in an R2D2 investment. However, you just got to remember that now we've got this one that people can buy, we've got the new $100 one that people can buy, and then we've got the one that's retiring this year that we would expect to see an investment return on. So 3 different ones that people can go to Amazon and pick up. at different price points. So we got to keep that in mind if you are considering investing in R2D2. Now, if it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for the fact that the old version has come down so much in price and the newest version is so much cheaper, $100, I would see this as a pretty solid investment. But because of those two things, they do give me pause and they do make me think twice before I go ahead and invest in R2D2 this year. And this was me kind of changing my mind about this set, because I did previously plan to invest in it. This was a set that I was really bullish on and really excited about. I've talked about it in previous videos even, but because of those two things, the availability of a cheaper version, the price drop in the old retired version, I'm not particularly confident in this set reaching 450 or 500 within a year of retirement. So those are the 4 Star Wars sets that are over $200 that are retiring this year. And out of those 4 sets, we have Mos Eisley Cantina, we have the AT-AT, we have Luke's Landspeeder, and we have R2D2. Which of these 4 sets am I going to be investing in this year? Let me ask you, which are you going to invest in? Let me know in the comments down below. For me, out of these 4 sets, my pick would be Mos Eisley Cantina. And for me, this is just because there are some things hindering some of the other sets. R2D2, I talked about some of those concerns. AT-AT, I'm not worried about the $850 purchase price, but I don't love the set enough to be excited about that purchase price. And Luke's Landspeeder, although I think it could be a reasonable investment, I just don't think it quite meets what I believe could be possible with Mos Eisley Cantina. So out of these 4 expensive Star Wars sets that are retiring this year, Mos Eisley Cantina is my pick of these 4 sets. Now, I hope you found this useful. If you did, please hit that subscribe button. Also, if you want to learn more about exactly how I pick Lego sets and you want to get in with the community of people who will help you to build a business with Lego investing, make sure to hit that link down below to pick up a copy of my book, Winning Set Secrets. You'll also get an entire month of free access to my Inner Circle community, where we do monthly meetups to talk about building Lego investing businesses. I release private content there. You're going to absolutely love it. So check out the link down below to make sure to grab your copy of the book and join us inside of Ignite for a free month. And with that, thank you so much for being here. I'm Shane from brickbucks.net. Make this your year to lift off and be free.